And so then I was trying to think if we've seen Zion Williamson before. We've seen, and a lot of people, they want to do Rodney Rogers. They would more athletic Draymond Green. There's a lot of different ways in which you might want to do it. I think I have the parallel to who Zion is and the challenges that are ahead of him. I think Zion Williamson is closer to Joel Embiid. You're like, wait. Joel Embiid is like 7'1", dynamic center. Zion Williamson 6'5.5", weighs more, but wide like a linebacker or defensive lineman. Like, this is a totally different dude. Oh, okay, I will give you that in terms of their build, they're built differently. But for positional and size athleticism, they're both off the charts. Are we fair with that? Like Joel Embiid has incredible feet and hands and agility for a man his size. Am we okay with that? I would say Zion Williamson. Zion has incredible athletic ability for a man of his size. It's a different build. There's a freakish quality to them athletically. Additionally, both are the kind of guys like, man, I would enjoy just hanging out playing video games with those guys. Joel's funny. He told people when he went to Kansas some story about him killing a lion. No one knows whether it's true or not, but that's kind of part of the allure to it. And Zion is a completely and thoroughly and significantly more likable person than most anyone who's come down the chute from Duke. Doesn't mean Duke's got bad guys. It just means, when I think of Duke, I don't necessarily think, man, that's a likable group right there. Some of it's the images that we've painted. Some of it's just the sense that, well, they got to be arrogant because they're so good. They must know they're so good. Zion made Duke likable. You can't miss the athletic feats that they have. They have limitless potential at their position. They are unique. They are athletic. They have great big personalities, but they have one massive fundamental flaw. I saw Zion and he didn't play much defense last night, and the more I watch him, the more I become disappointed with where he is. Right now he's playing he's playing every game like it's an all-star game, trying to leak out and get dunks. But I look at Zion and I think, he's got to spend whatever it takes, whatever it costs, to have a guy travel with him, hang with him 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, that makes sure they know what he's eating and what he's doing to work on his body. We talked about Joel Embiid before. Embiid could literally be the greatest center in the history of the NBA, but his body is broken down several times over, and that's limited him. And his conditioning was a factor last year in the playoffs, and that limited him. And whatever it costs, if it's $100,000, it's $200,000, it's $300,000, who cares? You can make $40, $50 million a year if you achieve the peak of what you should be basketball-wise. But you cannot get there with whatever you're currently doing. It's just not good enough. There's no way to say whatever program, diet-wise, workout-wise, whatever, that the Pelicans have or have allowed Zion Williamson to operate on is good enough. It's just not. And I'm not saying he's ever going to be a beanpole. I'm not saying he's ever going to lose 50 pounds. But, man, you got to lose 20. You got to proportionalize it. You got to slim up some. Because that amount of weight, that amount of torque on that body is just going to be too much pressure on the joints, the ligaments, the tendons, all of that, and all the soft tissue stuff like the muscles. The goal isn't to dominate in 25 minutes a game. The goal, and give me the whole per 36, he averages 45 a game. No, that's not the goal. The goal is to be able to play 35 minutes a game. 75 games a year, and play both ends of the floor. When you can do that, that's the secret to LeBron James. Look, LeBron James is a great passer. He's got an unbelievable body. For a man his size, he's got great dexterity. He's not super fluid in the hips, but for 6'8", 260 pounds, he is. But the real key to LeBron's success is, with the exception of last year's groin injury, he's essentially never been hurt. And why is that? Some of that is genetic, right? Some of that is genetic, but a good portion of it is not just his own personal work ethic, but the fact that he's invested in his body. It's important to him. His diet's important to him. And I've told you guys the story before, but my dad, my late father, talking about guys that play minor league basketball, there's always a reason, right? There's always a reason that stars don't become superstars. And the two things for Zion, obviously development of a jump shot is going to be massive, but his body, his physical conditioning, that's the biggest one. He can catch, he can finish, he can defend if he wants to. He can pass, and he can lead, and he can smile, but he can't do these things well if he's 1 on the bench, 2 on IR, or 3 sucking for air when he's playing. Zion's closer to Joel Embiid than anybody else. Freakish athletic talent. But until there's a complete buy-in into what he eats and how he works out and what his body looks like, until that happens, you'll just have these statistical games where it appears like he was dominant, but you can't play him 35, 40. Like, why didn't you play him 35? Because he would have been ridiculously tired, which is more likely for injury, and you're even worse defensively than he normally is. The reason he's not playing defense now is it's too exhausting. And it's like we talk about him potentially being one of the all-time greats. You can't do that playing 25 minutes a game. And at 19 years old, 20 years old, you should be able to play all day without ever getting, like, ask anybody what it was like. Well, what do you remember what it was like when I was 20 years old? I could do whatever, insert whatever man thing it is. I could do it all day long. I used to get up, used to play pickup ball, have a hot dog and a Coke, then go play some more pickup ball, then go play some golf, then go lift some weights, then go out at night, then wake up and do it again, right? 20 years, you're indefatigable. You cannot be tired. And yet here at his youngest point in the NBA, he reaches the point of exhaustion several times in a game. Zion and Joel Embiid, very good comps in terms of freakish athletic ability and what would separate them from being all-time greats.